Chapter 82-86 Shinobi World. Unexpected ultra-final phase of the Fourth Ninja War. Madara's six paths had launched the infinite Tsukiyomi over the whole world, flooding it with an intense and strange light capable of penetrating even the most hermetic structures of solitude, without leaving the slightest trace of shadow. Every living being affected by that light, whether human or animal, except for plants and even simpler organisms, his eyes changed, showing the Rinnegan shape of Madara, which doesn't make much sense, since this genjutsu was released with the Rinne Sharingan. It should be the Rinne Sharingan. That was the sign that they had fallen prey of the ultimate genjutsu, a genjutsu that left them completely motionless as if they were statues. Statues that could only see helplessly how several giant roots rose from the ground, introducing them into cocoons. The only ones who were saved apart from the perpetrators of the jutsu were Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, who were protected by Sasuke's Susanoo, and all the Edo Tensei who had fought at that time, not counting Yamato, who was inside a Zetsu, and possibly some blind man. Madara's plan had been a success, and with this he believed that he had become the savior of the planet, ending forever all conflicts and wars, until Black Zetsu, that up to now Madara always thought that he was his creator, betrayed him in an unexpected and cruel way by activating a jutsu that would transform Madara in a very grotesque way into Kaguya, the ancient rabbit demon goddess, the mother of the Six Path Sage and the origin of the chakra in the whole world. Kaguya, the final boss of Naruto, that observed with love and hate Naruto's and Sasuke chakra and realized that they had in their possession the same sealing technique that her two children Hagamoro and Himura used to seal in the moon. To avoid possible destruction on the planet, Kaguya teleported the 4+ Obito, still possessed to the moment by Black Zetsu, to one of her dimensions, from where she showed how superior she was to Naruto and Sasuke, despite how powerful and cheated they were at that moment. Until at some point Kaguya, using one of her space-time skills, appeared behind our hero and his victimized emo friend, grabbing and immobilizing them with the help of Black Zetsu, which took advantage of that moment in which Naruto and Sasuke were immobilized, and Kaguya cried tenderly, remembering their two children. To explain how for centuries he had been manipulating the whole history of the world in secret with the sole purpose of resurrecting his mother Kaguya so that she would return to dominate the entire world as before the existence of the ninjas. And once Black Zetsu finished his speech, in which he magnified himself and his mother, Kaguya awoke from her disillusion. "I hate you, Hagoromo. Himura, you both belong to me," Kaguya said, activating her Byakugan with hate while the tears of her eyes kept falling down her cheeks. "My role is finished. Now, I shall return to the almighty mother goodness," said Black Zetsu, which was still immobilizing Naruto and Sasuke. At that moment, Naruto said in a cliché way as he freed himself from Zetsu's grip, "Of all things, you people, of all things, are not the history of shinobis." And while he was releasing also the immobilization of Sasuke, he added, "And one more thing. A mother is happy when her children gain their independence and leave. Your rebellious phase has lasted quite a while. Mother is the creator of chakra. No matter what you kids try to do, it's all useless," said Zetsu Black, hiding in the sleeves of Kaguya. "We need to create an opening to use the sealing jutsu." "Naruto," Sasuke said with cold sweat on his forehead. "Yeah. We've got no other choice now. We've got to use that jutsu." Naruto replied to Sasuke with cold sweat on his forehead as well. One of Naruto's clones was chatting with the hidden Sakura and Kakashi about how tricky the situation was, while he healed Obito with one of his broken new powers granted by the Rikudo Sennin. Meanwhile, the real Naruto was in front of Kaguya and her amorphous son, who was hiding under his clothes. "Yes, I know it sounds weird," and together with Sasuke decided their plan against that wise and powerful enemy. "Wait. Are you serious?" said Sasuke, who wasn't very convinced with Naruto's plan. "We won't know until we try, will we?" Naruto said confidently, and Saku looked at him suspiciously. "I've been secretly practicing this technique over the Rasengan. I think this might give us our best shot," Naruto said without any hesitation. He had great confidence in his plan. After a few moments of consideration, Sasuke answered, since he couldn't think of anything better either, if that might have some possibility of creating an opening with her. "Fine. I'll get my left eye ready then. Let's do it," he shouted as he accumulated chakra in his Rinnegan. "Right," Naruto shouted, making the characteristic seal of the Kage Bushin no Jutsu. They were about to put into practice their great, brilliant, spectacular, and plan. The plan with which the destiny of the planet would be decided in this incredible battle of the gods, where there were techniques so powerful that they were capable of destroying everything in kilometers. The plan that could change the destiny of the planet in this incredible battle of the gods, a battle with jutsus so overpowered that were capable of destroying everything in kilometers and change dimensions. At that moment, Kaguya changed her expression when she realized that Naruto and Sasuke began their attack. Sasuke threw his Amaterasu directly on her body, wrapping she completely. However, Kaguya was somehow able to quickly extinguish the black flames of the Amaterasu, but when she did, Naruto was already right in front of her, ready to perform his Kage bussing. She moved. Sakura shouted, acting as a real-time narrator while Sasuke watched from afar with his left eye. "Eat this." Naruto shouted, about to perform his final technique, the one he had practiced the most. Naruto created almost a dozen clones, which practically surrounded Kaguya for all intentions. He was about to perform another jutsu, so Kaguya with great seriousness and warlike attitude activated her Byakugan to see through his attack and chakra from any direction. In this way she won't miss any detail no matter how small it was. Everything was filled with smoke due to Naruto's jutsu, and when that smoke dissipated and sexy reverse harem no jutsu. Each of Naruto's clones had become a naked hot guy, of different styles and tastes, who approached Kaguya in a suggestive, seductive and erotic way. Before this jutsu, Kaguya was completely stunned, so much that she instantly deactivated her Byakugan unconsciously. Her mouth was open and she didn't move even a single millimeter while she watched dumbfounded and confused what was before her. We didn't know very well if that expression was due to the unexpected surprise of finding a jutsu so bizarre and unique. We didn't know very well if that expression and drowsiness was because she was excited to see so much attractive man naked around her, like Sakura, who was even bleeding from her nose. Nor did we know very well if it was due to a complete rejection or disapproval for that jutsu, like Kakashi. There's been this trend forming that the stronger someone is, the more these sexy techniques seem to work, Naruto thought after performing his most deadly jutsu. Have you gone completely stupid? What the hell kind of a technique are you using at a time like this? I mean, I'm different story, but do you really think that jutsu is going to work? Oh, a god like that? Sakura thought, incredibly upset, angry, and excited as she bled through her nose like an old pervert. But whatever the case, Kaguya had been totally annulled both physically and psychically. And in that moment, when Naruto was about to undo his transformation and give a futile punch to Kaguya in her face, palm, a huge hand appeared a few millimeters behind Kaguya's head and at a great speed gave him a punch that covered his entire head, making it disappear. And instantly, Kaguya's whole body also disappeared quickly, leaving only the black Zetsu behind, who like all those present were stunned before that other unexpected turn of events. Eehee. What is happening? Everyone shouted at the same time, including Black Zetsu, who had fallen into a panic upon seeing how his mother had completely disappeared. Everyone was watching with panic that hand that was flying in the air, a hand from which the rest of the body began to appear, as if it were crossing an invisible portal. He was a strange person who looked to be 25 years old. He was extremely tall and muscular, his long hair was reddish like the long monkey tail on his back. Everything in that man transmitted danger and power. However, what most alerted and impacted everyone was his face, or rather what was on his face, because just as Kaguya, he also had 3 eyes, 3 unknown eyes that shone with different colors. One green, another blue and another red. Eyes, or rather, 3 strange and mysterious eyes never seen before and in the world of Naruto. And in the mind of every ninja, unusual eyes could only mean one thing. Dojutsu, ninja abilities that utilize the eyes, to byproduct of specific Kekkai Genkai, and as everyone in this dimension created by Kaguya knew, all the dojutsu in this world had origin in the extraterrestrial clan Otsutsuki, specifically from Kaguya Otsutsuki. Therefore the appearance of a strange person like Kaguya, with 3 eyes with strange colors like Kaguya, floating in the air like Kaguya, in the dimension of Kaguya, that used space/time techniques like those of Kaguya and easily defeated Kaguya, made everyone think exactly the same thing. That man was a member of the clan Otsutsuki. No please. Another extraterrestrial god with strange eyes? No. First Obito, then Madara, then Kaguya and now another one, thought Kakashi, Sakura and Naruto that were about to shed tears while Sasuke cursed his own existence. However, the most shocked and terrified was the Black Zetsu. No, no, it cannot be, he must be from the clan. I cannot believe that, they came here at such an inconvenient time and discovered the betrayal of Mother. What has he done with Mother? Damn. However, Broly, because it is clear that he was Broly, didn't care about the seriousness of the situation. Ha 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 ha, great job Naruto, it has been a very fun, efficient and effective attack, it would have been a shame not to use it correctly. This is like writing a novel. No matter how good, interesting, cool or innovative a premise may be, if you don't know how to develop it and execute it correctly, you won't write a good novel. This just will be a good premise, and a premise by itself has no value. It is not that he needed it expressly. But Kaguya with her space-time skills could have been very elusive, and I also thought that is a pity not to take advantage of your efforts, he said, cheering and laughing at the same time in a sincere way. The group of ninjas no longer knew what to think or react to so many unexpected and unnecessary surprises that day. At first they believed that the final boss was Madara Uchiha, but then that Madara Uchiha turned out not to be Madara Uchiha, since the real Madara Uchiha appeared in the form of Edo Tensei. Then the fake Madara Uchiha turned out to be Obito Uchiha, who they all thought was dead, and later Obito became the Jinchuriki of the Jubi, with which he had become the strongest ninja until that moment. Then the real Madara betrayed Obito and resurrected using him, and then he stole the Jubi from him, thus becoming a stronger Jinchuriki until he was able to realize his plan of world conquest, or something similar. It turned out that Black Zetsu manipulated Madara from the beginning in a macabre plan to resurrect his mother Kaguya Otsutsuki, what seemed to be the unexpected final boss of the whole manga, which was only mentioned previously by Rikudo Sennin when Madara killed Naruto and Sasuke. Now another powerful-looking guy with 3 strange eyes that no one knew about had appeared in front of them and stabbed Kaguya in the back in a similar way to the one Black Zetsu used with Madara. There were too many plot twists for a single day. There was no ninja or reader who could assimilate all this easily. Who are you? Naruto asked casually and extremely confused. He looks like an enemy, but he has seen the greatness of my sexy jutsu, he has defeated Kaguya and seems to know me, he may not be a bad guy. Oh, sorry for my lack of courtesy. My name is Broly, apologize for stealing your prey, but I need Kaguya to come with me, but do not worry, you will never see her again, Broly said in a cordial way to make a good first impression. And while the 4 shinobis of the original Team 7, poor Sai, nobody remembers him, were reassured a little by the cordial response of that Broly, who seemed to have no evil intentions. Damned! Are you someone sent by Otsutsuki clan to steal the chakra from the tree god of my mother? What did you do to her? Zetsu shouted, which lost his composure when he realized that he couldn't detect any trace of his mother. And with those words from Zetsu, Team 7 was alerted again, since they knew the implications behind those words. This was what worried me, another fight awaits us, said Sasuke, preparing to use the power of his eyes as Naruto, Kakashi and Sakura, and Obito, who was regaining consciousness after Naruto used his newly acquired messianic powers to save his life. Oh wow, they think I'm from the Otsutsuki clan and that I came here for the betrayal of Kaguya and acquire the Biju's chakra. These are the disadvantages of having 3 beautiful eyes in this world, jajajaja. Well, maybe I'll go along with them for now, it can be fun and will help me try my brand new stand. Of course. It is the treatment that a traitor like her deserves. A traitor who not only did not alert the clan about this planet, also took over the tree god for himself, created biological weapons and had offspring with inferior beings like these 2 here. In addition, from what I see, a great part of the god tree chakra resides in the blonde boy named Naruto. How peculiar, said Broly, scratching his chin as if he was giving an obvious report of the facts, at the same time he was showing signs of starting to move. That made the ninjas prepare to attack, but Zie Warudo. Due to the difference of powers between Broly and the rest and the benefits he obtained assimilating Dio, he stopped the time completely without any problem. And the first thing he did was make sure that Zetsu Black, another strange being quite strange, was part of his collection. Time re-emerged and Team 7 realized that Broly had moved instantly, and that he was holding the Black Zetsu, which was disappearing in the same way as Kaguya. Well, one less. Do not have a grudge with me, I just follow orders, Broly actor said calmly as if it had been nothing. With fear and cold sweat, Kakashi tried to clarify the intentions of that strange and powerful individual, to check if in the case of conflict it was possible to negotiate and avoid an impossible battle. Well, I was only ordered to capture Kaguya for her betrayal. So my mission would be finished and I could return, but on the other hand, there is a god tree sucking the chakra of this planet, and part of this chakra still is inside of some people, so the clan could be interested in this world yet, said Broly with malice, observing Naruto and Sasuke. Damn! Naruto said angrily, understanding the dark intentions behind those words. However, even if I report about this world, I will not receive any compensation. And I'm not overly interested in eating a chakra fruit of this world. And to dominate this planet would be a real pain in the ass. What to do? Broly said, pretending to have an internal debate. OH. I know. What do you think about a gamble? A gamble? Sakura asked, pretending to do something useful. Broly sighed and at the same time created a cat-chin platform on which he sat. Yes, that's what I said. You against me. You just have to get me out of this cube that I just created in less than half an hour. To give you an advantage, I will not move from here or use my hands or legs. I will not use 1% of my power, nor will I kill you. If you win, I will not say anything of this world and I will try to leave you alone, apart from fulfilling a wish to each one of you if is within my possibilities. But if you lose... Jejejej, Broly said with a wicked smile and charged with ulterior motives. Okay, we accept, but... will you really keep your word? Sasuke said, speaking in everyone's name. They did not have many options and the conditions were quite favorable for them. Although it bothered him a little to be underestimated. Of course, why would I lie? Broly said very naturally, he was too used to acting. I'm glad to hear that, Sasuke said, channeling chakra in his strange Rinnegan to perform a skill that only belonged to him and his peculiar eye. Amenotajikura. This was the space-time ninjutsu with which Sasuke could exchange the position of one object with another and was trying to use that jutsu in Broly, to make him get off the cat-chin block without further complication, but... it had no effect, no matter how hard he tried. How is that possible? Sasuke said, surprised and outraged. Come on Sasuke, if I let you do that, it would be very boring. It's a game, you have to have fun, said Broly, provoking the ninja emo, nullifying the effect of Amenotajikura with his causality invasion. And after understanding that it would not be an easy battle, started the confrontation for the destiny of the world, again that day. Futon Rasen Shuriken, Naruto shouted in his six-path Sennin mode, enunciating his test attack, which he threw towards Broly. Bomb! The Rasen Shuriken hit something, creating a big explosion, but it did not hit Broly. There was something that got in the way, and that something was a tail of giant red ape? But what the hell? Naruto said with stupefaction. He did not expect Broly's tail to be able to do that. And like the others, he was not able to see when Broly's tail lengthened and interposed against his characteristic attack. Also, there was not a single scratch on the tail, not even a hair had been cut or hurt. Surprised? You're not the only one with a special tail and that knows how to use it, Naruto. Well, you have already made the first attacks. Now it's my turn, said Broly, sitting on his floating cat-chin block as the tip of his tail increased in size until it looked like one of the meteorites that Madara threw towards the Shinobi Alliance. And just like that meteorite, his tail was over them and about to fall. Naruto! Sasuke shouted, due to the urgency of the moment, to propose a plan, without explaining it. Yes, Sasuke. Naruto replied, who had understood him perfectly. In a synchronized way, both summoned his most powerful form. Sasuke his perfect Susanoo and Naruto his giant Kyuubi, and they combined, making the Susanoo armor cover the gigantic humanoid Kyuubi with a katana in his hand, a katana imbued with the lightning bolts of the black Chidori. Oh, I see. If an attack is big, become big, too. Good philosophy. And with that thought, Strauss descended against the Cubisano, and the Cubisano flew at full speed towards Strauss with the firm intention of cutting it in half as he did with one of the tentacles of the Hachibi. Pum. But to the surprise of Naruto and Sasuke. Damn! What is this tail made of? They shouted in desperation. They had not made a single scratch. It was like trying to use a toothpick to cut a steel block, a flexible steel, which made it even harder to cut. Moreover, that mass of unbreakable flesh and hair with a green aura covering it pushed them to the ground. If the cuts do not work well. How about this? Sasuke understood that maybe it was impossible to cut off Broly's tail, but was it immune to electricity? And in the event that it is, could that electricity travel to the main body? Hi. Sasuke yelled as he increased the voltage of his swords, spreading the electricity all over Broly's tail. This is giving me a cramp. Let's check if the futon element really cancels the Raiton element, said Broly, very relaxed, without even moving a millimeter from his platform. In that instant the electricity of Broly's tail disappeared completely. Hey! My Raiton element has been dispelled. Have he used the same jutsu with what Amenotajikura denied? Sasuke thought. No, it's not the same jutsu he used before. This is something different, something that is extremely familiar to me, Naruto thought synchronously with Sasuke, anime logic. I see that superficially replicate certain properties of the wind in my tail works as planned, what if I add more? Broly said with arrogance. That said, something changed in Broly's tail. But what the heck? Sasuke and Naruto shouted at the same time as the arms of their transformation ability trembled by the effort. Broly's tail had turned into something grotesque. It was still the same size, hardness, and flexibility as a few seconds ago, but now it was spinning on itself at an alarming speed and had become strange to the touch, as if its head state of matter changed. Then in few moments that tail no longer looked like a tail, its appearance was changing, it was as if physically it had become a sharp hurricane. And for the sword that tried to pierce Strauss, it was a giant and unbreakable drill that was about to destroy it. Naruto. We cannot continue like this. Sasuke shouted, alarmed by the deplorable state of his chakra weapon, which was about to break. I know. Naruto shouted as he prepared to counterattack with one of his most destructive jutsus. Biju Dama. While the Cubicino was struggling to hold back Broly's tail with his sword, he launched the Biju Dama from the mouth towards the tail. That jutsu seemed to be having certain effect since the wind around the sword was slowing down, although not all that needed to turn the tables. Not bad, although I'm using too little power. But, what if I use 100% of the Futon Rasen Shuriken properties? And while Naruto and Sasuke were still struggling to push back Broly tail, something changed again in Strauss. The wind became more compact, the surface of the tail tiled, thousands of shurikens of wind appeared from the surface and the rotation became more visible. As for its appearance and effect, everyone recognized it, especially Naruto. This is my Rasen Shuriken. Naruto shouted with stupefaction. Broly's tail had become a perfect Rasen Shuriken, perfect with strange shape, like the Rasen Shuriken that the tail had intercepted before, although it must be impossible since it requires a very specific and complicated spherical shape to create a perfect Rasengan, but that Broly is achieving exactly the same effect or even with more power with an elongated, cylindrical and irregular shape like that strange and bizarre monkey tail that constantly changed shape. It was absurd. This violated the Nachutonian's physics laws. Boom! After manifesting all the properties of the Futon Rasen Shuriken adding to that a slight lateral lashing of Strauss, he threw the Cubicino without too much difficulty several kilometers away, destroying several burning rocks of that lava dimension. Bomb! Bomb! Pom! Pam! I've overstepped. I'm sorry. Broly shouted, feigning concern and laughing at the same time. Clam! Plom! From among the rubble near Kakashi, Sakura, and the exhausted Obito. Naruto and Sasuke got up once again that day, and despite being easily defeated unquestionably by a giant monkey tail, like good shonen heroes they did not lose the fighting spirit before the last boss. This is... He has exactly replicated Naruto's Rasen Shuriken in his tail. Sakura sighed without believing that Naruto and Sasuke, who by now looked like gods, would have been catapulted in that way, as if they were flies frightened by the tail of a cow. That tail, is it indestructible? Is that why he was so confident about not using his hands or legs? Kakashi said, analyzing the situation. Then Sasuke, feeling insulted and humiliated, he said quite logically, we do not need to beat his tail, we just need to finish him. And looking at Broly, shouted, Amaterasu. His intention was clear, to consume Broly directly with his black flames that burn everything. But, something was wrong, and Naruto realized the first. Broly is... laughing? Wait, Sasuke. Naruto shouted to alert his emo friend. And he was right, something was wrong. Since the Amaterasu did not appear in Broly's body, but in the air in front of him, an air that was beginning to take shape. Tail shape. Very shape Naruto. I had replicated the property of the calm wind in a part of my tail, melting it completely with the scenery around me, as if it were part of the wind, although it was always in front of me in a solid way to intercept Sasuke. Amaterasu, said Broly with satisfaction while his tail began to change once more. But this time in a more macabre, terrifying and black way. Upon witnessing this grotesque transformation, the 5 shinobis looked at the sky with terror and disbelief. I cannot believe it. Sasuke said, since he more than anyone understood the implications of what he saw. This is a nightmare. Sakura said while she almost fell to her knees in despair. And now how do we defend ourselves against this? Naruto said with great concern, but trying to be constructive. Is there any way to defend against a mountain of solid and indestructible Amaterasu flames? Kakashi said as he tried to think of some plan, talking loudly. Strauss. Broly's giant tail had acquired the same properties as Sasuke's Amaterasu, and showed those properties in all splendor, just as when he copied Naruto's Futon Raisen Shuriken at 100%. Strauss had become a solid mass of flames of fire capable of destroy and burn anything. I see that you are scared. Do not worry, I will reduce the size and speed of my Strauss in this way. It will not be so complicated not to die, Broly said arrogantly, as if he were a person capable of destroying galaxies in seconds while his enemies are incapable of destroying planets in days. Broly's words once again affected in the tired and impacted minds the Team 7, as if they were again inexperienced genins facing a jonin for the first time in the test of the Jingle Bells. The difference was too big, it seemed that Broly were playing with them. However, Sasuke once again came up with a dishonest trick, but effective. I see, you lit your tail with my Amaterasu. Why not the tests on your entire body? Bastard! And with that cry of provocation, Sasuke used Kagutsuchi, the technique of his right eye, which allows him to manipulate flames at will, all kinds of flames. Oh! Broly exclaimed when he realized that his tail, or more precisely, the fire in his tail was being controlled by someone else and was spreading through his body against his will. Shouted while he was being covered in black flames. It worked. Sasuke said with satisfaction, but without showing it too much. I see. Having turned his tail into a Amaterasu, Sasuke has been able to control the flames of his tail to burn his body, which is not immune to the flames. Very cunning, said Kakashi, acting as an anime commentator for the spectators. Broly staggered because of the pain, so much that he was about to lose his balance. He was on the edge of Kachin's block. He almost fell. I was kidding, I'm not hurt. With telekinesis I have separated your flames from my body a few millimeters. I'm not burning, said Broly, taunting Sasuke and company, going back to the center of the Kachin block while she made the Amaterasu flames disappear from his body. Hey! Shouted Sasuke and Naruto, who believed they had almost won the bet, but they had been deceived instead. At the same moment Broly's tail changed once more, no longer shed flames as before, but still has the same great heat and the color was blacker than night as before. Everyone saw that change, but among all of them the one who understood it best was Sasuke, since now it was impossible for him to control even one atom of Broly's tail, even though he was still noticing his Amaterasu on Strauss. I already knew that you could manipulate the flames of my tail, although I wanted to see how much, and you have not done bad. I congratulate you. Well, now that I have maintained the destructive properties of the Amaterasu 100% while I have cancelled its properties as fire, you will not be able to use your ability. And as a reward for going so far, I'll show you another trick of my Strauss, said Broly as he prepared to do something not very good for the Team 7. He is transforming. Naruto said. He was the most experienced person in transformations of the whole team. And he was right, Broly was doing his true Saiyan transformation, true Super Saiyan God -1% in this case. His size increased, his muscles widened, his hair lengthened, his lame muscles changed and his body began to cover himself with simian fur, but, in that case the fur was not reddish as it should have been during the transformation of true Super Saiyan God. It was black, and not only the fur had become that color, his whole body had blackened, a color identical to that of Amaterasu. Does this mean that, now we cannot touch his body either? Said Obito, who had remained silent until now. Exactly. As my true Saiyan transformation depends on my tail, I can extend its properties to my transformation, he. Said Black Broly, pushing back Strauss to change its size and screw it like a spring, while pointing to the group. 3. Sasuke. Sakura. Kakashi. Obito. Put you behind me. Naruto shouted, concentrating a large amount of chakra. 2. With that will not be enough, let me try something, said Obito, who was already a little better after recovering. 1. I will also put some countermeasure, said Sasuke, making seals with his hands. 0. Blum. Strauss accelerated at a great speed, breaking the sound barrier. Obito tried to open a space-time spiral in Broly's tail, to cut it and drag whatever it could to his dimension, but Broly, using his ability to transport parts of his body to formless realm, avoided Obito's Kamui, transporting Strauss a few inches ahead of his dojutsu, advancing without further trouble. Amaterasu Rashomon. Sasuke summoned the 5 giant Rashomon gates he learned from Orochimaru, which were covered with black Amaterasu flames in order to stop or slow down Strauss's advance, but PLOM. 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 Strauss perforated the 5 doors as if they were made of paper and reducing them to ashes in a few moments, while he continued its advance. Truth-seeking wall. Naruto concentrated his 7 truth-seeking balls and created a spherical barrier to protect them all. Bomb Mung. The powerful impact caused the dark sphere to be fired kilometers away, but, impressive as it seemed, the sphere managed to withstand the impact, and those inside were still alive, although somewhat injured, but healing thanks to Sakura and Naruto. Oh, congratulations. I guess I should congratulate you for enduring a gentle caress of mine, said Broly, applauding and approaching with his cat chin block towards them, but out of the rocks there were 9 Narutos, all of them with a truth-seeking Rasengan in their hand, and each Rasengan had a different property, a property of each of the Bijus inside him. Sealer sand, black fire, water, magma. All the powers of the Bijus present in each of the Rasengans. Take this, the Narutos shouted in unison, tossing the giant Rasengans from different directions towards Broly. The truth-seeking wall was not destroyed by his tail, maybe these Rasengans can deal with him. But in a strange way, Broly's tail that was miles away quickly retracted and changed shape, becoming a dome like the truth-seeking wall, protecting his body as Naruto did before. Bomb. 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 However, they had no effect, the dark tail did not have a single scratch or had moved a single millimeter. But something had changed in her. It cannot be, now he's copying the truth-seeking balls, said one of Naruto's Kaguya Bushins watching Strauss. He was losing hope of defeating Broly like the rest, who were healing his wounds and staring with stupefaction at him who seemed an invincible being. Not bad. Although I did not expect less from you either. You have done a great teamwork to resist my caresses and you even almost caress me. So you win the game. Broly said nonchalantly, as if he were an older brother letting his little brother win a game to make him feel better with himself. Hi. Naruto shouted, very confused by Broly's words. Well, I've surrendered. Broly said, emphasizing an absolute truism. Does this mean it's over? Are you not going to do anything or report anything to the clan? Asked Kakashi, who wanted all this to end as soon as possible. Well, I cannot report anything to the clan because I am not part of the clan, although in 15 years a few will come upon detect that there have been anomalies in one of the dimensions of Kaguya. It was a small joke to motivate you to fight against me. I wanted to try my new skill and you seemed appropriate for that. From the beginning I did not intend to do anything at all. Ha 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 ha. Broly said, laughing at the expression of the 5 shinobi, specifically Naruto's, who was making a very funny face. Damned. Do you think everything is a joke? Sasuke said, not knowing whether to feel offended or relieved. Yeah, of course. And from my point of view it has been funny, Broly answered without any shame. The faces of the 5 shinobi broke down, they had almost died because of this monster, and he found it funny. But Naruto as hastily as ever, okay, I do not care if it was a joke or not. I do not care who you are and where you come from or how you know so much. But you had promised us a wish if we won and I ask you to take the Bijus out of Kaguya and give them back to us. He screamed, pointing at Broly as if accusing him of something. Okay, it seems very fair. Although I was going to return them from the beginning, so thank you for wasting your only wish in this way, ha 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 ha, said Broly, laughing again at Naruto's expression. I cannot stand this guy, Naruto whispered to himself. The part of the Baiju will be discussed in detail when old Hagoromo gets up from his nap. He has been trying to summon you for a while but I'm not letting him, since I have to do something for you before. Starting with that stupid guy named Sasuke, who's been doing the idiot for years, said Broly, pointing to Sasuke as if he were a disgusting cockroach. Me? What a problem you have with me, said Sasuke, becoming very alert as Sakura, that monster, still wanted to fight apparently. What problem do I have with you? You are an egocentric, envious, stupid, unpleasant, victimized, childish idiot. I could list all the times you've been an asshole with your friends and the girl who loves you, all the bad decisions you've made, the way you've been manipulated into doing the imbecile on behalf of others, your shitty personality shit, your absurd inferiority and superiority complexes and that future feeling of guilt that does more harm than good to the ones around you. As well as the absurd plan you have in mind, but I'm afraid it would take too long to do a good analysis of everything and it would make me want to kill you while I think about it. So just like another teenager recently, I'm going to re-educate you with educational slaps so you can be a good person for this society. I'm sorry Naruto, but in this I'm going to give you a hand, or there may be a later misfortune that costs both of you a hand, said Broly, cracking his knuckles as a sign that he was going to apply a firm hand in that rehabilitation. But Naruto and Sakura said, they went in defense of Sasuke, but they were unable to move, as if the space around them had been solidified. Do not worry, it's all for your good. Sakura, you will thank me in your married life. And your Naruto will avoid a good medical bill. When I finish that I will talk about how to organize the work and how to delegate. For now, I have to reconvert a rebel without cause into a normal citizen, said Broly as he prepared to perform the same treatment he used with Jotaro. Palm. Plaf. Plof. Outside the dimension of Kaguya. Another Broly watched calmly the tree god and its many branches and roots, from which stood out different buds where there were living beings trapped in the eternal Tsukiyomi. Jojo. I feel like a little boy in a toy store at Christmas. I just do not know what to choose, said Broly observing various cocoons while the ghost of Hagoromo Otsutsuki and all the Edo Tensei lay on the ground quite wounded. Sign that there had been a great battle a few seconds ago, a battle in which they had been defeated by Broly. Defeated too easily. And while the Six Path Sage and the Edo Tensei Minato, Hashirama, Tobirama and the other ancient Kages remained inoperative. Broly observed the different hanging cocoons of the tree god. The world of Naruto has a lot of extraordinary genes, either by ancestral genetic inheritance or by mutations. It would not be bad to acquire a few, but I have promised myself only to assimilate those who had already died, were destined to die or disappear, the evil ones who deserve to die, or those who accept of their own accord to come with me. What did he do to us? Hashirama asked, embedded in the ground trying not to swallow sand. I think it's a space jutsu that increases gravity, Minato said as incapacitated as Hashirama, but he was lucky to be immobilized facing the sky, which was easier to talk. At least we are able to talk and see what is happening, not like the Six Paths and Nin and the other Kages, Tobirama said watching Hagoromo that seemed to have been frozen in time while trying to perform a summoning jutsu, being unable to finalize it. For now we can only wait and see what that monster does. Although today nothing surprises me. Sarutobi said trying to stay calm and analyzed the strange actions of Broly, who was still looking at the cocoons of the giant tree. Ah, good. I'm not sure if all of them will accept, but I sense that one will accept, as long as there is the corresponding reward. I'll take it to him as a preventive measure for now and I'll ask him later. Oh. The therapy has been a success and Naruto's intelligence seems to be increasing. Just when I finished making my preparations, good timing. I think it's time for the final meeting, said Broly snapping his fingers, causing the Edo Tensei and spirits to recover their mobility and resuming Hagoromo's time, performing the invocation he was about to perform before they stopped the time. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. When performing the jutsu, Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura Kakashi and Obito were teleported to Hagoromo's location. At that time, the legendary Six Paths and Nin should have congratulated them for saving the world by sealing Kaguya. But things had not come out as anyone expected, nowhere, for better or for worse. Sakura, sorry for everything I've done so far. I have behaved like the greatest idiot of all, or rather, as the biggest crap of all. I do not know what I can do to amend everything I've done, but I swear I will not disappoint you again or make you worry about me, Sasuke said embracing Sakura tenderly as he regretted everything he had done and could have done. Oh. Sasuke. Sakura screamed completely red, hugging Sasuke tightly as well. Great. At first I was worried about the beating that Broly was giving him, but the result has been unbeatable. Now it is again the sweet Sasuke that I remember when we were kids, the inner Sakura thought. I cannot believe the amount of hours and resources we have wasted so far. With this type of organization and technologies, the bureaucracy will decrease by 8,000% and the efficiency will increase by 7,999%, Kakashi said looking at the manual that Broly had given them and explained while he remembered the huge mountains of papers that were piled up in the Hokage's office every day. With this even the Hokage could have a lot of free time, now I would not mind being recommended to this position. I did not understand everything very well, Kakashi-sensei. Can you explain it to me later? Naruto said he understood the importance of this manual for his future dream job, but he had trouble understanding the content. The only one who remained silent and realized that they had been teleported was Obito, who was immersed in his thoughts. Ahem. Me and the other Kages of the past, which I have called from the Pure Land, and we have used the Kuchiyos no Jutsu to bring you here. Naruto, Sasuke and everyone else. I wanted to thank you for saving the world, but I think there have been some unforeseen events, Hagoromo said looking at Broly suspiciously, which floated in the air nonchalantly. This Naruto, who is he? Kakashi asked Naruto pointing to the Six Paths and Nin. Sakura should be the one to ask this question, but now she was too busy with her renewed and romantic Sasuke. He is the Six Paths Sannin Kakashi-sensei, Naruto replied, as you would have asked a truism. Well, it's floating and has the Rinnegan, it must be true, Kakashi said, which could not be surprised anymore that day. Yeah, I've been the one who saved your ass. Thanks and you're welcome, said Broly, giving himself up, wanting to highlight his achievements before all. Hagoromo, upon see the attitude of Broly, tried to be as respectful as possible. Excuse me, Broly. On behalf of all, we thank you for sealing my mother, but what exactly will you do with her? Hagoromo said somewhat uneasily. She was a psychopathic demon who wanted to kill him and his brother and was consuming the humans to become stronger, but a mother is still a mother. As far as he could verify, none of those present could do anything against Broly, and although it did not seem to be an enemy, his unknown origin, methods, and intentions did not generate much confidence. That's right. And where is Kurama and the others? You told me you would bring them back. Naruto said, pointing at Broly as if he owed him money. Come on. I just saved the world, have a little more confidence in me. Your psychopathic mother is inside a dimension in stop time to which only I have access, where she cannot do anything, so do not worry, she will not enslave any other world. And as for the Bijus, I was extracting them from Kaguya all this time, said Broly, something outraged, snapping his fingers. At that moment, all the Bijus appeared surrounding the invocation circle. Broly, what the hell are you really? Hagoromo asked, surprised to see that he was able to bring back his puppies, which were previously assimilated by Kaguya to complete his power and resurrection, in a very easy way. Me? I'm just a nice three-eyed alien who has seen the great problems on this planet and has decided to lend a hand in a disinterested way. And that will take Kaguya as a form of payment for that help, answered Broly with an unconvincing smile. Yo! Kurama! Are you okay? Were you lonely all by yourself over here? I missed you. Naruto shouted, greeting Kurama with emotion. Don't scream stupid sentimental drivel like that at me. I wasn't lonely at all. Half of me was in you the whole time, for crying out loud. Shouted Kurama, very embarrassed, raising his middle finger towards Naruto, like two good friends. Gahahaha. Son Goku, Baiju, shouted due to how funny the situation was. Hahaha. Broly also laughed and with a certain melancholy said, well, it seems that my job here is finished. From now on you all have a lot to do, clean up and talk about some things, a stranger like me surely would only hinder. We'll see another day with more time. But before they could thank him, say goodbye or ask him more difficult and long questions to answer. You may be right and it's time for me to leave too, said Obito sadly and hopelessly. Obito, what are you trying to say? Kakashi asked, afraid that his childhood friend would do some stupidity, again. I think it's obvious, Kakashi. From small my goal was to be a Hokage, but I trashed that dream myself, and even if I wanted to resume it, I am no longer worthy of that position. The other part of my life was all focused on seeing Rin again, even if it had caused the death of those I loved as Minato-sensei and Kushinanezen. I have manipulated others to do horrible acts and caused a ninja war where millions have died to fulfill a goal that was a farce. Do you think there is any place for me in this world after what I have done? Obito said, regretting everything he had done throughout his life, believing that he had no redemption or place in the world. Kakashi did not know what to answer to his friend, and even Naruto had trouble developing a motivating speech in his head. But at that moment Broly intervened once again. Well, I will not deny that you've screwed up excessively throughout your life and that surely no government will forgive you. Moreover, I believe that under the orders of Madara, who was being manipulated by Zetsu, you have only become the greatest murderer of the recent history because almost all the misfortunes after the Third War have been orchestrated by you. However, I promised each of you a wish. I've returned Naruto to Bijus. I returned Sakura, the lovely boy of his imagination, the she was obsessed with, to Sasuke. I have returned him to the right path, which is surely what he wanted. I have made Kakashi's life easier for when he is promoted. To you, however, I haven't do anything yet. What do you think of a new opportunity and possibly an extra gift? He said, appearing behind Obito and putting his arm over his shoulder as if they were friends. A new beginning? Obito said, thinking about this offer. He was once scammed by Madara in a similar way. Yes, a new beginning. If you no longer have a place in a world, why not go to another? Broly said cheerfully, as if he had said a great epic phrase, but it was not. Obito thought about it for a few moments. He did not know what to choose. The offer seemed interesting and will help him in a certain way, but did he deserve to have a second chance? Is it a good idea to leave with that strange, outlandish and overly powerful being? Go Obito. I do not know what will give you where you go, but at least you will have the opportunity to get away from what has happened here and start over. You need it, Kakashi said, trying to encourage him to go with Broly, as he believed that if he did not at some point his friend would try to take his own life. Kakashi. Okay, Obito sighed as he listened to his friend's opinion. And do not worry, it's not like you cannot see me again considering your space-time jutsu, Kakashi said with a smile. Well, I take this as a yes, said Broly, transporting Obito to Formless Realm without any complications. Thank you again Broly, said Hagoromo, who was relieved that there would be one less tragedy that day. Yes, yes. I'm amazing. Take care of yourself, eat well, take care of the world in case there are future alien invasions other than me, and brush your teeth. Some of us will not see each other for a while, others in a few hours. Take care. I do not want to hinder your emotional talks, Broly said blithely before disappearing from everyone's sight. In a few hours? Well, let's continue where? Hagoromo said, trying to take up the conversion issue once more. But suddenly... Oh. And one last thing more. Said Broly's head, which appeared behind Naruto. Ah. Some shouted out of fright. I thought you said that nothing would surprise you at this point, you were wrong. Well. Naruto, I have something very important to tell you before I leave, something of vital importance, Broly said in a very serious way, almost as if it were something related to a great imminent danger. What is it? Naruto asked as seriously as Broly, and somewhat frightened. If there was anything that could make a monster like Broly so serious, it must have been something far more dangerous than the future invasion he had prophesied. Before the doubt, the most buxom, Broly said with the same seriousness and determination as before. That's all. Naruto asked, excessively confused, disappointed and shocked. He expected something serious. Yes, I hope it will help you in the future and guide your way. Bye. Broly said before his head disappeared completely, leaving everyone still more confused than before about his true identity, personality, or objective coming here. Before the doubt, the most buxom. What will he mean? Naruto said loudly, trying to decipher that message. I'm not sure, but I think he was referring to something perverted, related to breasts, Son Goku replied, since he was a very wise monkey, and being a monkey he knew about perverted things too. I knew, another old pervert, said Sakura, disappointed, which was excessively critical with old powerful perverts, that curiously there were many in this anime. Yes. I suppose, but if what I say is true, I suppose I should forget about you forever. True Sakura. Ha 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 ha, Naruto said jokingly about how insistent he had been with her in his childhood, and about his chest size. At that moment, the adorable Sakura hugging Sasuke became a furious monster when he heard one of the biggest taboo that could be said in front of a flat chest. What have you said? Sakura shouted as she advanced with her fist held high and her super strength out of control. Bomb. Formless Realm. After 4 hours. Well, another mission easy to fulfill, new soldiers in my immortal army, new powers to discover, and another idiotized teenager rehabilitated. Broly said, shaking his hands as a sign that he had done a good job. Broly observed Kaguya in time stopped, and beside him was Madara Uchiha in the same situation. 2 for the price of 1, or 3, this has been a good fishing. Separating Madara from Kaguya hasn't been complicated. I simply had to force the fission between them and resuscitate them at the same time so that none died and could coexist at the same time. The difficult thing has been to separate the Bijus from Kaguya without affecting their powers. But once found the formula and supplying my immense Kin mixed with chakra hasn't been so problematic, said Broly with satisfaction. Then the formless realm unfolded, and from that fold appeared 2 people. Hagoromo and Himura Otsutsuki, the sons of Kaguya Otsutsuki. Hagoromo, the original holder of the Rinnegan, master of the Sennin arts and ancient Jinchuriki of the 10 Tails, the legend throughout the shinobi world. Himura, who inherited his mother's Byakugan and who was able to make it evolve into a Dojutsu as powerful or more powerful than his brother Rinnegan, the Tsugen. Oh. It's so nice to see the family reunited. Ha 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 ha. Not bad. I have obtained many new techniques and applications of the vital energy and other types of energies, ancestral knowledge, genes of new space beings with mystical abilities, and eye powers and other skills. The Rinnegan of Kaguya, along with his Byakugan, bone manipulation skill and the full power of the tree god. The Rinnegan of Hagoromo, along with his Sennin mode and capabilities of former Jinchuriki in the Tsukigen de Himura, along with the Sennin mode that he also developed. I wanted to wait until the events of the last movie happened, the movie where Naruto realizes a fucking time that Hinata wants to fuck him to acquire the Tsukigen, but there is nothing better than the originals. And with Madara Otsutsuki I'll keep him because for his incredible fighting instinct and for his complete Sharingan evolution, understanding his evolution process will give me a lot of interesting data, said Broly, creating in his hands a Sharingan, a Manjikyu Sharingan, an Eternal Manjikyu Sharingan, a Rinnegan, a Rinne-Sharingan, a Byakugan, and a Tsukigen. Nice catalog of eyes. In Naruto's world it's almost a cliché to tear a special eye out of someone to implant it and use their abilities in few seconds. It is incredible how advanced ocular medical science is in this world. And I have 3 eye holes. Which ones will I choose? The answer is none of them. I wouldn't feel comfortable having another's eye inside my body unless an eye in which I don't have 100% compatibility. Besides, I don't know which one should choose. I want them all. That's why I've hired certain scientists to work with me on this and other projects, said Broly, changing his location. Desire Realm. In a gigantic spaceship in the middle of the vacuum of space. Broly appeared in the middle of a research room. Hello, how is everything going around here? Broly asked as if he were a nice boss arriving at the office after a vacation. Everything according to the planned, Master Broly. All this equipment and information is impressive. If I had all these means at my disposal from the beginning I wouldn't have needed 10 years to reach the state I am in now, said Kars, the final villain of JoJo's Battle Tendency saga who had become the head of biological research at one of Broly's research centers. I am glad to hear that. How is the new one adapting? Broly asked casually. Oh, the new one. A rather curious and bizarre guy, but has quite interesting approaches, said Kars, watching the shadow that was approaching them. What do you think about the decision to join me? Do you think you have made the right decision? Orochimaru, Broly asked to the snake-like man in lab coat. Of course, Master Broly. Not only have you granted me a true and absolute immortality, you have also broadened my horizons and given me the opportunity to discover new universes with unlimited possibilities to investigate. It is without a doubt the best decision I have made in my life, answered Orochimaru, who showed veneration towards Broly, the almighty being that has given him everything he wanted. I'm glad to hear that. From tomorrow new projects will be opened. Project 01, combination of dojutsus to create a perfect and more powerful one. Project 02, artificial creation of god trees. Project 03, perfect combination of genetic codes between different entities to acquire the desired characteristics, said Broly, delivering the samples to be investigated. As you order, Broly-sama. But I think maybe we should change the name of those projects to one less obvious, Orochimaru said with emotion and even lust, since he knew perfectly what those samples were and what is the final destination of these projects. Why not? There is no one else besides us in this universe which I control the entrance and exit, and we are not in a manga or a novel, so it is not necessary to put ambiguous codes to keep readers waiting at all times, Broly said casually, being convinced of what he was saying. Maybe. Desire Realm. In a paradisiacal garden far from the research area. Obito was sitting with great inner peace near a lake, but he wasn't the same Obito who entered the 3 realms. He was the Obito child who was always late and dreamed of being Hokage, the same Obito who during the battle against Kaguya would temporarily deliver his Sharingans to Kakashi to fight, the young Obito Uchiha. And next to her was Rin, her childhood friend, her teammate, her first and only love, and the girl whose death triggered all the events we saw in Naruto. They both talked and embraced, and from the reddening of their eyes it was clear that they had cried together as they remembered old moments and the new ones they were now sharing. Rin. After everything I've done. I don't even dare to look at your face. Said Obito, clenching his fist as much as he could because of his self-hatred. Yes, you deviated a lot from your goal, and to say, a lot, is to fall short, but... You worked hard, Rin said, trying to comfort Obito, who really needed that, despite the fact that she really thought that he has screwed up excessively, although she couldn't complain excessively either. Because of her fault Obito almost died, in fact he was presumed dead, they didn't even try to recover his body despite the times it has been said about how important it is to recover the bodies of the ninjas, especially one with Sharingan, and later she was also captured, one more time, so that Kakashi could kill her. In this way, Madara Uchiha managed to manipulate Obito, turning him into the fake Madara Uchiha with the promise that he could see her again when he completed that plan. If she didn't forgive him or understand everything he did and why few other people would do it. Rin, this. I wanted to tell you that. Obito stuttered, trying to confess officially for the first time. I know, Kakashi told me, Rin answered without leaving time for Obito to begin his confession. Yes. Kakashi, of course. Obito said, trying not to have eye contact while remembered the time that Rin confessed that she liked Kakashi. He. Jealous? Said Rin, teasing Obito. No. Well, yes. He said, trying to disguise his true feelings, but revealing them at the end. He is too expressive. He. If you mean what I told you that day, don't pay too much attention. It was just a girl who was attracted to the typical quiet, serious, bitter and popular class guy. Almost all girls go through that phase in their early lives, but we aren't little girls forever, said Rin, looking at the horizon with a smile while Obito stared at her. Obito exclaimed, who had forgotten his jealousy suddenly by those shocking and insinuating confession. I think I started waking up from that illusion on the day of your supposed death when Kakashi told me what had happened, and each day my eyes opened a little more. Until the day I closed them completely, but for some reason I was able to see everything you did for me even after my death. Rin said, something nervous, trying to look at Obito in the eyes. Yes, many girls are like that. They love that the boys do absurd, unnecessary, expensive, tacky and even dangerous crazy things to show their love for them. Even it is a world war where all the inhabitants of the planet would die eventually. And Rin was one of those girls. Rin, you mean? Obito said alarmedly. His heart was beating at a very high speed by the anticipation. Didn't I tell you, Obito? I'm always watching you, Rin said in a wicked way, approaching Obito a lot and staring into his eyes without blinking. Rin. Obito said, slowly bringing his head closer to Rin. Obito. Rin said, corresponding that movement and doing the same thing. Both closed their eyes and opened their mouths impatiently for what would be the first real kiss of their lives. But I'm interrupting, little lovebirds. Broly said, appearing from behind in that decisive love moment, as if this was an anime where there is always someone who interrupts the protagonist when he is about to do something eki, only to not cancel the anime for having inappropriate scenes for that broadcast time. Aw! They shouted, both for the fright and the shame as they separated, both blushed at being surprised and interrupted in such an intimate moment. I see, so, ha 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 ha, Broly said, laughing at the cute reaction of both. What do you want now, Broly? Said Obito, who despite being one of the soldiers of the immortal army of Broly hadn't lost even a bit of his original personality. To many other soldiers Broly had made them more docile and less sociopaths and psychopaths, and he was a little annoyed at being interrupted at that moment. Come on. This is how you treat the person who has resurrected the girl of your dreams, has given you the appearance of a child so that you won't be considered a pedophile, has he created a beautiful garden for you and your sweetie and gives you free food and drink? Said Broly, trying to reassure Obito by acting offended. Obito said, trying to find the words to rebuke his arguments. This. Broly. Thank you very much for bringing me to life, to rescue Obito from himself and leave us this place, but why are you doing all this for Obito and me? I don't understand it very well, asked Rin with many doubts about all of this. She had suffered the cruelty of war and as a doctor the death of many friends, including Obito and themselves. She knew that Broly was a stranger to Obito, someone extremely powerful that appeared out of nowhere and turned the world upside down, sent Obito to a strange world, turned him into a child and resurrected her, without asking anything in return. Everything was too beautiful to be true. But what could an almost omnipotent being like him want? Exactly. I don't believe that you are a philanthropist who helps strangers for pleasure, Obito said, supporting Rin's argument, first because it was a question that he himself wanted to ask, and also because she's the girl he's in love with, he has to agree with her if he wants to fuck, we all know that's how it works. Broly laughed a few seconds to see the tender reaction of Obito, typical of a lover who would do anything for his first love, and since the question was interesting and consistent he had no problem answering. Good question, Rin, and good appreciation, Obito. Exactly. I am not an angel, nor a demon. I am not a philanthropist, I am not a misanthrope. I am not a hedonist, nor a stoicist. I am simply a person like any other, but with a lot of power and knowledge. And that has as a goal to achieve the absolute power and knowledge, but that does not have too much hurry to reach that goal. I want to enjoy the path towards that goal and enjoy the detours that may appear. During that way I want and I hope to laugh, to cry, to be surprised, to have my plans carried out, to fall in love, to find people to drive me crazy, to help people that I like for no reason, to punish those whom I consider evil because my confused moral code so consider it that way, be remunerated and recognized for my actions, go unnoticed on some occasions. Consider me as an excessively rich guy who on an idle day towards his private yacht gives exaggerated tips in restaurants, buys a gun to kill someone who has threatened him, buys a Ferrari to avoid walking 100 meters and then burn the Ferrari, demolish a asylum because there he wants to build a massage center and donate the benefits to an orphanage of which he had never heard. I just want to do what I want and believe always correct, without regretting what I do or don't do, although everything with moderation and intelligence, of course. And at that moment I wanted to give you what you wanted, and also because I really appreciate your talent. Rin and Obito watched Broly with their mouths wide open. All that information bomb was too dense, quirky and hard to accept for them. It was too much. Okay. So you're just a madman with much power that simply wants to do what he wants when he wants without a concrete reason, to spend time until achieving a selfish and practically impossible goal. Obito said, explaining that he thought after hearing the explanation of, well, you're not so badly on track. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts even more. In the same way the more powerful and intelligent one is, the more it moves away from the less powerful and intelligent people, and in their search for more power and knowledge they end up even more alone and isolated. And in the end they end up drunk with their own power until they die because of him, and in many occasions they drag everybody in their stupid destruction. And depending on the scale of that power they end up becoming something monstrous, something inhuman. And in my case in a short time I have reached that great power and knowledge, a very big power, so huge that I feel that I am moving away more and more from nature or human thought, and it scares me at the same time that fascinates me. I don't know what I will end up becoming, or if I will stop being myself at some point in my evolution. Now I am thousands of people with only one mind linked to some universe and dimensions that I created. I have a conceptual immortality, the power to destroy galaxies with a single movement. I can create life, I can resurrect the dead. I am something quite inhuman. Every time I think more inhumanly, although I'm still the initial me for now. But what will I be after? How will it affect me? Can a person change so much for their experiences, status, physical and mental changes, that he stops being himself? Change and evolution is inevitable, but I have to move forward at a responsible speed so that it doesn't affect my identity too much, or it would end like New Rich who has won $1 billion in the lottery. For that reason I try to avoid that, either by helping others selflessly and surrounding myself with other extraordinary people and making them stronger and wiser. To maintain my humanity by surrounding myself with other people, that will gradually become more inhuman with my help. I don't want to end up like certain self-satisfied idiots, even though I admire myself too much. Well, I guess we all have problems, Obito said, not knowing what to answer. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.